and welcome back to The Good, the Bad, and the Poorly Written. My name's Luke. I'm a writer, director, and film editor. And in this series, we're taking a look at my first feature screenplay and trying to make it a bit better. The script, Crime at 6,200 Feet, is a neo-noir about a ski bum living in South Lake Tahoe who attempts to investigate a crime. I wrote it when I was a ski bum living in South Lake Tahoe. In the last episode, Sam met up with Jenny for what was supposed to be an interrogation, but ended up being really more of a flirty first date. In today's episode, he's following up with a clue she gave him about where he might find José. This section has some issues with clarity and specificity, so as we go, I'll be working to make the story flow better while at the same time calling out specific details that will help a reader and a prospective future audience follow the story better. All right, let's get into it. Scene 34. Exterior residential street. Morning. It is a gray, flat light day. The sun is hidden behind a high cloud cover. Sam walks down the street. He's wearing a light jacket and a hooded sweatshirt up and over a beanie. His hands are in his pockets. The neighborhood is a little run down. There is a trailer park and trash showing in the snow. Sam sees a young Mexican woman leave her house and begin to walk down the street. He crosses into the middle of the road and greets her.
Hi.
She looks at him and smiles shyly, averting her glance. Sam tries again.
Buenos dias, señorita.
This time she responds.
Buenos dias.
Yo tengo una pregunta.
Sí.
¿Usted un hombre joven llama José?
Sí.
¿Y dónde que vive?
McAllister Street.
Gracias.
Binaba.
Sam smiles and the woman heads on her way. Taking out his notepad, Sam makes a note of the encounter, the woman's description, what building she came from, and where she was going. Feeling proud of himself, he walks down to the address she gave him. It is a nondescript brown duplex. In the driveway is a rundown import. Jotting down the license plate, he walks past the house, trying not to look like he is looking at it. At the corner, he stops and leans against a tree. Look, I know I said I wasn't going to call out the many typos in this script, but this spelling of greets her really made me laugh. The first thing I want to talk about is the Spanish dialogue. I think it's an interesting character trait that Sam speaks a bit of Spanish, but the issues I have here are really just with how it's formatted in the script. Like with the Maltese Falcon scene way back in episode 5, if there's something important to the understanding of your script, it needs to be in your script. Like if a character was speaking a different language, perhaps. Writing it this way makes me think the writer, young Luke, didn't want the audience to know what was being said. And honestly, it doesn't really make too much of a difference here. Sam isn't getting any important details like a description of Jose, an address. All he learns is that she knows him and the street that he lives on. But if there was something important like the color of his house or a description of someone he was with or a warning to stay away, then it should be in the language of the script. And in this case, that would be English. There are a few different ways to communicate that a character is speaking a language different from your reader and audience, while still letting them know what's going on in the script. You can add a note that says something like this. Note, the following dialogue in italics will be Spanish and subtitled. And then you just write it like this. Or you could do something like this, where you write the dialogue in the language that will be spoken on screen, while at the same time including the translation that matches the language of the script. Those are just two different ways to format other languages. I'm sure there's a bunch of others, so let me know down in the comments what your favorite ones are. The other issue with this section is the action block is confusing and hard to read. It has a lot of the same problems that we discussed in episode 1. It bounces back and forth between big picture and small details. We go from the sun is hidden, into Sam's outfit, back out to the general neighborhood, and then have this lovely sentence. There is a trailer park and trash showing in the snow. It makes it seem like there's a trailer park peeking out of the snow. In order to make this read well, we could start with details like Sam's hands in his pockets, or the trash on the ground, then go out to describe the wider setting. Or we could start with the general mise-en-scène, then go into the details of what Sam is wearing and what he's doing. Mise-en-scène is just a fancy film school way of saying the overall setting. Mise-en-scène, the visual elements within a film, including set, lighting, costumes, and props, used to create mood, convey meaning, and enhance storytelling. Basically, everything you can see on screen. There are two descriptive problems with the last action block. First, she only gave Sam a street, not an address. So her description is really too vague to be of use. It needs to have more details. Speaking of vague, young Luke just wrote a rundown import. When you can, try to be specific, or at least descriptive. In this case, you could say something like a brown 1986 Toyota Tercel, or you could say something like a beat up Japanese import that looks like it used to be blue. Either way, give your reader a detail so that they can paint the picture of the object in their mind. This is especially important when the object plays a part later in your story. And, spoiler alert, we do see this car again later. So describing it here gives the audience an image of it, so when they see it again later, they'll remember where they saw it before. Okay, with all that covered, let's check out the revised version. Scene 34, exterior, Bijou neighborhood, day. It's a drab, depressing gray day, which fits nicely with the drab, depressing neighborhood Sam finds himself in. Now wearing a hoodie pulled up over a dark beanie, Sam looks around. Run-down campers half buried in the snow, litter, and on one side, a trailer park. In front of him, Sam sees a Latina woman, 40s, exit a trailer and walk towards the street. Sam hustles over to catch her.
Hello, could you help me?
The woman shakes her head and averts her gaze. Sam tries a different approach.
Buenos dias, señorita.
This time she responds.
Buenos dias.
Yo kendo una pregunta.
Sí.
Usted un hombre joven llama José.
Sí.
¿Adonde que vive?
La Casa Baron. Villa Esquina.
Gracias.
As the woman walks away, Sam takes out his notepad and writes a short note. Then he continues down the street to the intersection. Looking around at the houses that are on the corner, they are all brownish.
Damn it.
He walks into a nearby driveway and leans against a tree. Cut to. In addition to the things I mentioned earlier, I also changed the location slug line to match the location that Jenny gave him. It's not something you'd see on screen, but I think it helps with the continuity of the read. I also changed young Mexican woman to Latina woman and made her middle-aged. There are so many young characters in the script, I thought this was a good opportunity to vary the age a little bit. All right, let's read the last section of the original. Montage. Sam waiting, leaning against the tree, squatting, kicking at the snow, rubbing his hands together, etc. And montage. Two Mexican men exit the house. One is slightly older. The other fits Jose's description. Sam sits up and watches them intently. They get in the car and drive off. Cut to. This is actually a good use of a montage. Montages are easy and effective ways of communicating the passage of time, which is what this is doing here. It should be slugged as its own scene, and etc. really shouldn't be used in place of, actual descriptions of what the characters are doing. The last action block should also be its own scene. And it has some other problems. We have never gotten a physical description of Jose. Sam wasn't sitting, and there's a runt. But what really bumps for me is Sam's last line. He sounds disappointed that the car drove off with Jose, which begs the question, what exactly was he trying to do here? If it's just gather intel, why would he be upset? He now knows where Jose lives, a person that he hangs out with, and the sort of car that they drive. And if he was there to question Jose, why didn't he walk up to the door, knock, and talk to him? Like with the car, I think it's important to be specific about the man that Sam sees Jose with. We're going to see him again later, and we want the audience and the reader to recognize that they've seen him before. Let's check out the revised version. Montage. Sam paces. He squats down, stretching his legs. He leans against the tree. He kicks at a pile of snow. Sam rubs his hands together and hops up and down, trying to warm himself. End montage. Exterior, intersection. Back leaning against a tree, Sam looks bored to tears. Just then, the door to the house kitty corner to Sam opens and two men walk out. One is a Mexican man, 30s, who has a goatee and a Sherpa-lined jacket. The other is a young guy wearing a Raiders beanie. Sam perks up and watches as they get into a beat-up, brown 1980s Toyota Tercel.
Raidersat. Bingo. Hello, Mr. Jose.
Keeping his eyes on him, he gets his notebook out and starts to write. The car pulls out and heads down the street towards Sam.
Oh,
He looks left and right, then quickly hides behind the tree. As the car passes, he leans out and clocks the license plate. Feeling proud of himself, Sam turns and walks away. Cut to. So as I was writing this, I realized there was really no way of Sam knowing this was Jose. No one had given a physical description of Jose, so this could just be some other young guy. So I decided to go back to scene 21J and have Little John give Sam a descriptive detail that would help him identify Jose here. Here's that rewrite of the rewrite. Little John walks up with a fistful of Coronas.
Mexican be talking about Jose.
Shut the fuck up, Will John. You know Jose's straight.
Yeah, whatever, man. Something's hanging around, sucking up to little Raiders loving bitch.
I also moved the license plate bit down here. So when Jose and his friend drive away, Sam is able to actively do something that shows he was there to gather intel. He writes down the license plate number. And that's a wrap on today's episode. Next time, Sam has a second encounter with Jose and makes a decision that'll affect the rest of his investigation. Until then, be good and write well.